Hey everybody, it's Atheist for the Cause here with another video for you, and this one is about Kathy Griffin and Donald Trump and how she held up this severed head of Trump, and this has caused some outrage. Um, and there are actually, I was kind of surprised by the reaction. Both the left and the right have pretty much denounced this, and I think that's good. Where that's in the past, the left has often defended violence against Trump. And remember, Trump actually does have a couple assassination attempts on his life already. There was especially one on the campaign trail where a student from the UK, this is at least how it was reported, a student from the UK came and he went into a rally and he tried to steal a gun from a cop to actually shoot Trump. And he was reported to be mentally unstable, basically came over to the U.S. to study abroad, got in with some SJWs where they effectively brainwashed him to think that Trump was, the next Hitler, and so he took action. And so, let's take a look at this article here, which is a pretty good one in my opinion. It says, "In her bubbles, Kathy Griffin thought nothing was out of bounds in mocking Trump." And not just mocking Trump, but mocking Trump with this image. And, I really like this angle of how, a lot of people on the left are in a bubble. And they don't even realize that something like this is so far out of bounds, it's not even funny. And that, this could actually incite violence against the president. Imagine living in a bubble so impermeable, it didn't occur to you that retailing a photograph of a decapitated president's head would be a horrendous career move, a bubble in which you don't know anyone who doesn't think the world would be a better place once Donald Trump had his head cut off. That is the world Kathy Griffin lives in. This Times Square Rolex knockoff of Joan Rivers knew the photograph of her holding the decapitated and bloody head of the President of the United States was edgy and provocative. That's why she was excited to pose for it. That's why she sent it to TMZ. That's why she initially defended the picture to the journalist Yashar Ali by claiming it was art, quote unquote. But in her heart of hearts, Kathy Griffin is no more a provocateur than Tickle Me Elmo. Her professional life has been making fun of people who try and fail to achieve genuinely deserved American celebrity. That's very nearly the opposite of risky. Making fun of a Kardashian is about as daring as smoking a clove cigarette. So, this guy is pretty funny actually, in a serious way. This is a pretty well written article, and that's why it only took her 2 hours to realize she had done something disastrously self-destructive, and to try to salvage her career by disowning what she had done. Usually there's a cycle in these two controversies. First, the controversialist responds with obnoxious contempt to those who are shocked. Second, as the number of enraged tweets begins to rise into the thousands, the contempt turns to anger as the controversialist believes she's being defamed. Then, as it becomes clear to the controversialist that she crossed the line she shouldn't have crossed, she says she is sorry if she offended anybody and deletes the offense from social media. Griffin didn't go through these stages. No, in incredibly short order, she posted a video in which she looked even more terrified than the martyred ISIS hostages, whose deaths she had just mocked so repulsively. In that video, she issued an apology whose abjectness belied its candor. She surrendered any pretense to being an artist, making a statement that basically begged the world not to punish her for her misdeed. I don't know about criticizing her for an apology. I mean, once you make a mistake, and, you know, she clearly, I don't agree that she's like just a safe comedian. She's clearly trying to be provocative here. And I think that, once you realize it's over the line, sure, once you do get out of your bubble and get comments even from people on the left that this crosses the line, you originally defend it, then you think you sit on it, and you're like, yeah, you get some more comments, and you're like, yeah, that probably actually was over the line. And what can you do? All you can do is apologize. And I guess do you think the apology was sincere or not? I'll let you guys look up her apology and decide for yourself. But I don't think this article in these last couple paragraphs have been completely fair. Griffin only knew she had done wrong because of the swiftness with which the nation passed its judgment on her disgusting stunt. For like all fame-hungry performers in the end, what she wants most of all is love, and she thought that she would get more love for posing for and posting that photograph. And I think that's an interesting take, where the left often does use hate to try and gain love. They see this as an act of love, and people on the left will generally like use terms like "I love everybody," especially on the far left. Maybe not on the moderate left, but they'll say like, "Oh, I love everybody," and they'll use love so broadly that it loses its meaning. And now, I don't know if that applies to Kathy Griffin or not. It might, but that's an interesting take he has here. Why would she think this? In the bubble in which she lives, in the world in which she travels, in the frame of reference in which she nestles like a baby nestling in a Moses basket, it must have seemed to Kathy Griffin that there could be no way she could go too far if the object of her unspeakable provocation was Donald Trump. If you really think about Trump, he's in an interesting position, and I wonder how the court would deal with it. He is a celebrity. He has been a celebrity before being president. He is a celebrity now. His brand is being famous. But he's also the president of the United States. So how would the court deal with protecting the president while also allowing people to make fun of him in a way that people are allowed to attack normal celebrities? Because he clearly is not just a normal celebrity. He's at a much greater risk than a normal celebrity is. In fact, she must have believed the further she would be willing to go, the more praise her action would be likely to engender. That was not an unreasonable belief Stephen Colbert took to the CBS airwaves and used a word to describe Trump that would have gotten him fired, because he used it about Barack Obama. If he used it about Barack Obama, only he would never have used such a word about Barack Obama. His show's ratings have only continued to surge in the wake of it. What would your takeaway be from that if you were Kathy Griffin? You might take one look at the cover of Village magazine's February issue, in which Trump appears in the crosshairs of a rifle sight, and figure it got a lot of attention for that. So imagine how much more attention I might get for this. So he's making the point here that other people have done it, and anytime people have done something, crazy, ridiculous with Trump, it has gotten them made them money and gotten them more attention. So it actually does work in, furthering your career, or it has up to this point. Griffin probably figured others had crossed the line before her, so she wasn't really crossing a line at all. Or maybe she figured where Trump is concerned, there is no line. Oh, sure, the yahoos would scream, but such screams would surely sound like 1,000 angels singing to Kathy's friends and employers. Their agony would only be a sign of her stunned and truly hit home. Yes, what could be more wonderfully easy and satisfying than to be provocative when you think the only people you will truly provoke are the people you and your community of like-minded showbiz progressives despise? When Griffin realized it was horror rather than "you go girl" admiration she had provoked, and not just among the yahoos but with everybody with a soul, enough to understand that she was normalizing an image of a presidential assassination, she tossed the photograph onto the trash heap of history. And like I said, there have been actual assassination attempts on Trump, not only the one that I mentioned earlier, but I don't know if you could consider it an assassination attempt, but it was an assassination threat where Democratic operatives went into a campaign trail late in the campaign. I think their goal was to make Trump look weak when he was running on strength, and so they planted someone up front and that told people around him that like he had a gun, and then those people started freaking out because he was being threatening, say he was going to shoot Trump. And so his supporters start like attacking him to try to defend Trump and saying, he's got a gun. Secret Service rushed Donald Trump off, and then they went and tackled the guy, and there was all this physical activity and all caught on camera, and then he had no weapon in the end. And to me, that's an assassination threat, even though it's fake. There was the other one where it was a Muslim guy that said he was willing to become a martyr, and he hopped a fence and went up to attack Trump and got tackled by Secret Service before he could get to Trump. And that's the one where Trump kind of stood up to him, ready to throw punches. It was funny. He was ready to throw down, but it was only funny in Trump's reaction. The actual threat was quite serious. Nobody knew if he had a weapon on him or not, and he never should have gotten that close. So, there has been a lot of these kinds of assassinations and threats, and after Trump won, you guys know about all the talk of assassination over and over and over, and Secret Service was so busy tracking all these people down that were threatening to assassinate Trump or saying they hoped Trump got assassinated. It wasn't even funny. And now that's continuing, not to the same extent, but to a bolder extent. It's planned. I think the problem here is it's not just words. It's literally putting an image into people's heads. And that's much more dangerous. So what you're doing is, I know some people might think this is ridiculous, like, normalizing the assassination of a president. That can't really happen. It can, because the crazy people, they see that and they're like, oh, that'd be a good idea. Or, they see Kathy Griffin get in trouble for it and they think, oh, someone needs to do something. And, that's a great idea. And then, they might actually try to do it in that way even. So she threw herself on the mercy of the court of public opinion in hopes of sparing the mediocre career she has so painstakingly constructed by playing the part of a sharp-tongued, take-no-prisoners truth-teller. No luck. In 24 hours' time, she had lost her annual gig co-hosting the CNN New Year's Eve special. The taste of her own medicine must be especially galling to Kathy Griffin today. Well, she wasn't exactly the most important person in CNN. And let's not pretend like CNN, is doing something out of their good heart. But it is true that they were forced to, it says Kathy Griffin fired from CNN over controversial Trump stunt. So it is true that she was fired. Let's watch the apology where she says, "I'm so sorry, I went too far, I was wrong." I forgot it was here, so let's watch this quick.
Hey everybody, it's me, Kathy Griffin. I sincerely apologize. I am just now seeing the reaction of these images. I'm a comic. I crossed the line. I moved the line, then I cross it. I went way too far. The image is too disturbing. I understand how it offends people. It wasn't.
Oh yeah, I want to, talk about that point. The image is too disturbing. That is spot on, which it makes me like this apology. This is actually the first time I'm actually watching it, but it makes me like this apology because it's so spot on that if she would have used a caricature of Trump's face or something, and made it clear it was a joke and everything, it would have been a lot more acceptable. It would have been, maybe a little over the line, but within reason, depending on how fake the head looked. But the other problem is we're fighting ISIS, who beheads people, and we're fighting them. A large part of the reason there's so much support for fighting ISIS is because they behead people. So, I mean, it was just a dumb idea.
It wasn't funny. I get it. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career. I will continue. I asked your forgiveness, taking down the image. Going to ask the photographer to take down the image.
And so, I mean, I guess it's an obvious move, but the fact that she did it so quickly, where she took down the image right away and the other images, you gotta give her some credit.
And I begged for your forgiveness. I went too far. I made a mistake and I was wrong.
So, I mean, if you don't accept this apology, what apology would you accept? It seems sincere to me. Anderson Cooper. So, I actually don't want her career to be ended by something like this. We have to be, I'm more in the center. We have to be better than the left where, we get offended and, we don't need to become the special snowflakes where someone crosses the line and hurts our feelings and now their career has to be over. Like, I think she should be forgiven and she should be. Normally, I don't like when people are dumped, for things like this, for a single mistake. But when their mistakes this bad, it makes sense to fire her to send the message. And then, hopefully, I think she'll get hired by somebody else in a couple months. And she's still a talented person, and she deserves to be able to find work, in my opinion. But what she did was way over the line. Anderson Cooper will be looking for New Year's Eve co-host after CNN decided Wednesday to sever its relation. I mean, is that really I think they did it on purpose, but I don't know if I would have used the term sever here. It's not clever. It's just like, let's move on from the situation, not play off of it. When CNN decided Wednesday to sever its relationship with the comic, the sacking comes one day after Griffin thought posting a photo and video of her holding up what was intended to look like the severed head of President Donald Trump was a good career move. She later apologized when she saw the blowback from both left and right, including Cooper, alas too late. And says CNN has terminated our agreement with Kathy Griffin to appear on our New Year's Eve program. So you hear it from the horse's mouth here. And I mean, let's not give CNN too much credit here. She's being fired from a one-day event. I mean, they can find somebody else to do New Year's. And in fact, they could probably benefit from finding new people to do New Year's. And the other reason we shouldn't give CNN credit is because this is the real reason they're firing her. ADT to pull advertising from CNN after Kathy Griffin beheading photo. everybody knows you follow the money. As soon as advertisers start pulling out, the change starts to happen, and that's what we see here. Kathy Griffin is getting fired because ADT and possibly, they're the only ones I've heard of so far, but possibly other advertisers are pulling out. The ADT Corporation, the largest security company in the United States and Canada, announced Wednesday that it will pull its ads from CNN in the wake of the growing drama surrounding a photograph showing Kathy Griffin lifting up a bloody, decapitated head meant to resemble the President Donald Trump. A Twitter user sent ADT a message asking the Florida-based company to quote-unquote drop CNN. "We do not support these views," ADT responded. "We've begun the process of pulling our ads from this network." So right here you see, "Please drop CNN since our employer Kathy Griffin depicted a beheaded president of the United States and CNN is silent. Show us. We do not support these views. We've begun the process of pulling our ads from this network." I mean, pretty straight up. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but it says, Anderson Cooper right here, "For the record, I am appalled by the photo shoot Kathy Griffin took part in. It is clearly disgusting and completely inappropriate." That's probably, he probably actually means that, to be honest. Remember, Anderson Cooper is ex-CIA, so legitimately. I know some people don't believe he's CIA or was CIA, but he has admitted, and it's like public record, that Anderson Cooper is CIA. That's the reason. Do you remember he did the host for The Mole? I actually really liked that TV show. Some of you might be too young to remember. If you haven't watched The Mole, see if you can find it on YouTube or something. And it was a great like kind of spy reality TV show, and he went part of it because or he was the host of it because he's ex-CIA, and it was right up his alley. Plus he's and obviously you can see he got into news. So and then Donald Trump said Kathy Griffin should be ashamed of herself. "My children, especially my 11-year-old son Barron, are having a hard time with this. Sick." Now there's two ways to look at this. One way is that Barron, Trump is using the emotionalism of his children, especially Barron, to kind of play it up even worse. Although I don't think he really needs to play it up. And I've heard people say that objection, and honestly there might be something to it, but at the same time, they might actually be, Barron's only 11, and he might actually have some troubles dealing with it. Like, it might actually scare him, maybe, even if he doesn't think that, right, obviously now he knows it's not real, but it could happen someday, and it just puts that worry when, I mean, imagine for military people, say the wife is at home and the husband is off, in Afghanistan or something, and then the wife sees, a picture of like some mock IED going off and killing a bunch of Americans or something, in some sort of joke. That might make her worry about her husband, legitimately. And then we have Rosie fucking O'Donnell. What the fuck? What in the serious fuck are you doing? Besides only showing that Trump was exactly right about you by calling you a pig and all of that shit, because you are disgusting. Rosie O'Donnell bullies Barron Trump again. Using the Kathy Griffin fiasco to re-enter the fray, this comedian has learned nothing from her past insults. What the fuck, comedian? Rosie O'Donnell's no goddamn comedian. She's a piece of shit and not funny at all. It was December of last year that comedian Rosie O'Donnell found herself apologizing to First Lady Melania Trump for cyberbullying Mrs. Trump's young son, Barron. O'Donnell had shared a video to her vast social network. The video claimed the young boy had autism. Through additional social media posts, the comedian used this strange conspiracy theory as a platform to attack Donald Trump as a liar. I actually looked into this when it was happening, and basically the way he would clap sometimes was kind of weird. It wasn't like a normal clap, but it's probably because he was just tired and just kind of going with the crowd, and he wasn't really into Trump's campaign speeches. I mean, he was probably a bored 11-year-old, and I think he was 10 at the time, and they used video of his clapping, like the worst of his clapping, and tried to say he had autism because of it. In other words, and I don't know if he has autism or not, but it doesn't really matter. And why would you try to make that go viral? It's just, even if true, there's no point in like spreading that. In other words, she used an innocent child as a pawn to attack a man. Attack a boy. Oh, well, I guess, okay, attack a man in Trump she has long sparred with and disliked. Furthermore, she dissected a child's mental health in public, though she has no medical background whatsoever. It was appalling, and she rightly apologized for it. Keep in mind, she's not just anybody. She has a, pretty big following. She's a celebrity. People listen to her. So when she says something, it's going to create controversy. And so it's not like the average person saying something like that. So I apologize to Melania Trump. I was insensitive in my retweet. I am sorry for the pain I caused. It was not my intent. I'm truly sorry, wrote O'Donnell on Twitter. Now, this is an apology I don't believe at all. First of all, it wasn't a video apology like the other one. Second of all, they have a long feud going on, and she used Barron. Like, what did she think she was doing at the time? She knew what she was doing. She wasn't like pushing the limits. She was just like trying to get at Trump in any way she could. And she thought the best way to get at him was through his child. I mean, it's totally different than the Griffin situation, and Rosie O'Donnell should be looked at as a piece of shit. O'Donnell had previously written on her official website, Donald does not have the power to change the facts, to rewrite history, so speak true, stand tall. Clearly, she has learned nothing since then. Now the comedian is still using her strange obsession with Barron Trump to criticize the president. And if you wanted to buy into this apology, the fact that she did something more, I'm not going to, by the way, if you want to see, they have a video about the Barron Trump autism thing, it looks like. Oh, no, this is about calling Donald Trump mentally unstable and a criminal. Sorry. So, yeah, actually, let's listen to this.
It's time for ET's social study. Here's what your favorite stars are sharing online. Billie Lourd breaks her silence following the deaths of both her mom, Carrie Fisher, and grandmother,
I haven't
Anne
watched
Reynolds.
this yet, so.
The Scream Queen star shared this sweet throwback pic of the 3 generations of actresses and thanked fans. Quote, receiving all of your prayers and kind words over the past week has given me strength during a time I thought strength could not exist. Billie says there are no words to express how much she'll miss Carrie and Debbie. Meanwhile, things are heating up for J-Lo and Drake. The rapper took the stage at
J-Lo
Hakkasan
and
nightclub
Drake.
inside the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas on New Year's Eve.
Get to
An
the good
eyewitness
stuff.
confirmed rumor new love J-Lo was by his side all night. The two were even spotted leaving together holding hands around 2:30 that morning. Ellen Pompeo is also going boy crazy. The Grey's Anatomy star shared this adorable video dancing with her new
Come on, this is
son,
supposed to be
Eli
about Rosie
Christopher.
O'Donnell. We don't
Caption,
care about this
"Here's to
stuff.
a year filled with happiness and love." Speaking of babies, is Maxim Chmerkovskiy and Peter Murgatroyd's first child together on the way? The Dancing with the Star pro shared this pic of his
There's only 30
fiancé
seconds left,
in
so.
a hospital bed on their son's due date. Perhaps hinting Peter was in labor, he wrote, but first, a little makeup. And finally,
Here we
new
go.
year, same old drama between Rosie O'Donnell and Donald Trump. Rosie's latest Twitter rant called out President-elect Trump as, quote, mentally unstable and a criminal.
That's it? Oh, come on. I thought you'd have more. Sorry about that. That's why I shouldn't play things for the first time when I'm making a video. But you'll just have to deal. Says clearly she has learned nothing since then. Now the comedian is still using her strange obsession with Barron Trump to criticize the president. What that did do, though, is corroborate the fact that there has been a long-standing feud. And so to say that, suddenly she's sorry because she is Barron Trump, there's no reason to buy into that apology. TMZ reports, Barron Trump was watching TV and saw Kathy Griffin holding the severed head. He thought it was his dad. My heart is broken. Television host Liz Wheeler wrote on Twitter on Wednesday. If that's true, that's pretty terrible. And, yeah, I mean, I could see it actually being true. Like I said, maybe they're just playing it up, but it did come from Melania, and they are showing like a weakness. A lot of times Trump likes to use strength, and which makes this particularly interesting because Trump wants to look strong, but he's showing that he has a weakness when it comes to his son. And I think that shows some honesty, to be honest. But there's no way to know for sure. She was responding to a viral picture from the now infamous Kathy Griffin photo shoot. In the image, Griffin is shown holding the fake severed bloody head of the president. LiveZet will not show it here. It's pretty bad when it's supposed to be a joke and they're not even showing it on, a page like this. That's how you know it's way too real life looking. O'Donnell must have felt that too much time had passed since she'd been an insufferable bully on Twitter, so she wrote in response, "Was he watching TMZ? Do you think he saw anything about these two heroic men who died defending young girls? Hatred promoted by his father? #USA. I don't know how you can blame Trump for some guy killing two guys who tried to stand up for some young girls. That's on the actions of those of the killer. And Trump has never had a hateful message. There's nothing hateful about saying we want to limit immigration or anything like that. He's never, on the campaign trail or in his policies or anything, if you ask people, what has he said that's racist or sexist or xenophobic, or they have very few things they can actually come up with. And the ones they come up with or try to are usually bullshit. They're like, oh, he said that he wants to build a wall, so he's, racist against Mexicans. And it's like, well, that's bullshit. Was he watching TMZ? Here's the tweet. The image posted by O'Donnell shows two victims of a recent Portland, Oregon train stabbing. Much of the press has mutated the stabbing into a political story. A drunk, mentally disturbed, and racist man on the train was yelling about America and free speech when he pulled a knife and began attacking people. The action was condemned by the president himself, though some have said the man was a Trump supporter. Others have said the deranged man was a Bernie Sanders supporter. That's pretty interesting. I haven't looked into whether he was a Trump or Bernie Sanders supporter, but I don't think it really matters. Someone goes and kills some people. That doesn't make them, whoever they supported, whatever candidate, it doesn't make that candidate responsible. Like, if you applied this elsewhere, it would get pretty ridiculous pretty fast. Like, oh, he likes the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or he likes Star Wars, so the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Star Wars are responsible for the killing. Like, no. Regardless, it was a terrible action that had nothing to do with anything except the man's mental health. And to answer O'Donnell's question, by the way, there's all these other articles on here that are pretty good. So you can check these out if you want. Like, Kathy Griffin may have incited violence against the president, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to cover them all. It says, to answer O'Donnell's question, no, Barron Trump likely didn't see those stories because he is an 11-year-old child, and what does one story have to do with the other? O'Donnell thinks a couple of murders in Portland are politically motivated and are the responsibility of the president. And suddenly, Barron Trump's emotional reaction to seeing a likeness of his father's severed head on TV is meaningless? O'Donnell is a bully, plain and simple. She's an opportunist who doesn't care whom she hurts when she makes her strange political points. Those points include everything from the catastrophe of accusing Barron Trump of being autistic to suggesting martial law to keep Donald Trump from taking office back in January. How ridiculous. I had completely forgotten about that. Barron Trump, until I read this article for the first time. Barron Trump is a child, but Rosie O'Donnell is the one who needs to grow up. Could there be any line better to finish your story with than one as true as this? My God. So, yeah, Rosie O'Donnell's still a pig. She's disgusting. And she's pretty much a piece of shit. And on that note, have a good day, guys.